DAOs are just a new environment. It's like, we've worked in, farms, and we've worked in factories, and we've worked in um, you know, office buildings, and it's almost, and DAOs are just like working online. And so it's not more efficient or this or that than anything else. It's just like different, and it's good at doing different things and has different challenges.
Hey everyone, welcome to yet another episode of NewForum. We're always excited to bring you brilliant and inspiring guests on our podcast. We're powered by NewCoin Foundation, focused on fostering the expansion of decentralized social applications, also known as Social 3.0, by forming an ecosystem and a community of visionaries, creators, and investors to spark conversations on the topics of crypto, the metaverse, NFT, and everything Web3. And on this episode, I am honored to welcome Luis. He is the instigator and core team member at TwoPlus DAO. He has spent the past 3 years focusing on DAOs, and Luis is super passionate about community building and mental fitness. We're going to discuss mental fitness and the pros and cons of community building in Web3, as well as what TwoPlus DAO is trying to accomplish. Hey, Luis, thanks for joining us. We're really happy you could be here with us today.
Hey, thank you so much for having me and asking me to join you guys for a discussion. Excited.
Awesome. So what made you want to build a DAO? Can you explain what TwoPlus is about?
Yeah, totally. I think it really fits my personality, and also my just like career path, quote unquote, and where I am now in my life, where I got professionally, and the skills that I built over the past years. I was always kind of like really reluctant to just work in a traditional work environment. I was really afraid of, feeling like I'm in a prison. I was a very free kid and always, did what I wanted. And just, the kind of like idea of having people telling me what I should do and how I should behave and stuff made me really uncomfortable. So I started looking for, more exotic things. I stumbled on crypto, and this, it really, like, I mean, fell down the rabbit hole, and 3.5 years ago, and found that it was really exhilarating in a way, and I mean, I was a really idealistic young adult, and crypto was, the perfect place to kind of like bake all those ideals in, and kind of like work and pursue them. Yeah, I mean, my ideals definitely have changed, but eventually, so I built those skills around. I was initially like, kind of had a finance business kind of default. What should I study? All these standards in society. You should go and do consulting, or you should go and be an entrepreneur. But eventually realized that as a really, as a work, like, that was really into, people and the human side of things, and that community building was really my thing. And and I gradually, so I started to do more and more of this pretty rapidly. And eventually I've been doing this for the past 2 years full time, like community building and all that in crypto, because I mean, community building is something that, many people do in many different ways. Crypto is one of these specific ways you can do it. And I think what I really like about DAOs is I mean, some of them, I mean, you have this algorithmic DAOs like Ethereum, Bitcoin, and even some DeFi protocols, but some of them, like social DAOs, so that those that are more like rely more on humans to, I don't know, create value, make things happen, are really, really social things. And they're kind of like I almost see, I mean, my type of DAO is like in between, a creator community and a company. I mean, there's real sense of, we're here for the vibes, we're here for, a shared interest or shared passion, a shared purpose, or shared interest into something. And so we're really sharing something and experience and stuff. We're not just consuming a product. So that's really what I like about DAOs, and what led me to to kind of like work in this area.
Yesterday we had a guest on, and I feel like he was more like talking about I don't want to say the dark side of DAOs, but it sounded like there were a lot of challenges in terms of like how to manage or how to work with, even though values align and all of that sounds amazing, but wherever there are like two or more people, there are challenges. So how do you sort of manage that?
Yeah, I just want to see that you say like two or more people. I mean, TwoPlus DAO, the name. I don't know if you were aware of this, but that's kind of like where it comes from. Like two or more people collaborate, towards a goal. That's so hence the name TwoPlus. So I'm curious. I would love to listen to this conversation you guys had. I feel like DAOs definitely have downsides, and will keep having downsides. That are inherent to anything that man creates. Anything that's artificial has imperfections. Like it's pretty obvious. I think it's important to kind of like make them as transparent as possible. I mean these potential issues that DAOs pose. But overall, I feel like in terms of working together, of course, like it's pretty hard. It's always been. I mean, building a project, community, an NGO, any type of organization is. I mean, humans are pretty good at getting together and organizing, but it's still like a lot of work, and it's still a lot of messy, ugly work. I feel like on my end, I was really idealistic when I was younger about how one should go about founding a project, founding a company and stuff. And the more I go and the more I just like work and I've participated in a number of this like consider like fairly successful projects at this point. Let's see how the future goes. But the more I'm kind of realizing how messy reality is, and how it's always about dealing with very human problems, mostly relationships problems, or the fact that we as humans have these like very very deep needs, and that are being recognized by each other, belonging to a group, and all these things are like our most pressing deep issues that we're kind of like trying to solve in one way or another, whether we know it or not. So DAOs are, I feel like in crypto we can often be lean a lot into like the tech jargon, and kind of like put all these like acronyms and names and technical things on, like make it sound like tech is kind of like the biggest part of what DAOs are, but that's definitely not the case. I mean, any DAO founder or DAO operator at this point in the space will tell you very explicitly that they're just trying to build a project, an organization that works, and that it's very hard. It's based on adapting project management techniques, running events online. I mean, eventually it's just like it's very simple. Of course, you have the tech backbone that enables this, like it enables this trust and this kind of like economic activity on top of the internet, like thanks to crypto. But beyond this, it's still like the same old problems of how do you get a group of humans together, coordinate them, collaborate, align people, inspire them, and all that stuff, and resolve conflicts and all that stuff. So I think it's a lot of the same, a bit different, and also the culture is definitely different. So you have to kind of like understand that part. But
I think definitely, like you said, it's like human nature, and yes, blockchain crypto is that the infrastructure and the tool is kind of like allowing things to be done maybe in a better way. However, we're going to be facing the same human challenges, right? Which is just a part of who we are. But then I guess the difference is that this time around, these people that have come together to build this community have an aligned goal, kind of, vision, right? And so perhaps it makes it
no, totally. I think that's definitely that's on point. I think what really is different is that it's not even, I wouldn't even say it's like more efficient. I mean, you could say, I mean, there are things that DAOs cannot do. I think DAOs cannot build cars. I mean, that's definitely not the appropriate organization to do that. I think what's really true is like DAOs are just a new environment. It's like, we've worked in, farms, and we've worked in factories, and we've worked in office buildings, and it's almost, and DAOs are just like working online. And so it's not more efficient or this or that than anything else. It's just like different, and it's good at doing different things and has different challenges. But we're still, the same humans. So basically, I mean, all the challenges that human pose, we have the same there, and we just have to solve them in a way that's native to this new environment, that's like this digital world. And so I think, the first step that has been taken, that made DAOs exist, is the ability to kind of like share ownership, thanks to blockchain, to trust each other, in terms of, we don't really know each other, but we know that we can, each of us have tokens, and there's a contract, and we both trust this contract, and it's super easy to implement. So and now we can start kind of like doing things online. And now what, like, how do we do all the things that we want to, how do we operate? And so I feel like DAOs are really about solving these questions.
Speaking about DAOs and, challenges and, human challenges, even be it Web3 or wherever we are, I'm just wondering what got you interested in mental fitness, because I feel like it's kind of like we can't get away with that. It's just a topic that is constant in the space. So
yeah, I'd be curious to hear if you have any relationship with mental fitness, mental health, all that stuff.
Personally, it's funny. I was talking to the girls in my team that I came up with a new beauty routine, or like I call it like a stress relief routine, where I just like smile. Like even when I don't feel like smiling, and this is just a very basic thing. Like, I feel like when it comes to mental health, there obviously you can get professional help and all of that. But I sometimes think about, how can I do it naturally? How can I think about where I am? And because sometimes problems are situational, like you're going through something, and so you're having a challenge, but it will pass, right? And so I try to identify the problem, and then I try to find simple ways to resolve it. Like, either this smiling thing actually worked for me, where when I'm sad, I just smile, because it lights up the same part of the brain that would naturally light up if you were happily smiling, not genuinely smiling. So I do stuff like that. And I think mental health is very important, like stepping away from the computer, meeting people, and, just talking to people. I think those are some of the steps, doing things I love sometimes. Yeah.
I mean, there's a growing awareness. I feel like, so I'm French, and in France, that does not really, I mean, mental health is I mean, you definitely have good professionals and stuff, but it's funny. I mean, mental health has always been this thing that treated people who are really, have some kind of disability, or like serious mental health issue, like, a disorder, like, I don't know, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, or, depression, very like something that really disables you and prevents you from operating, in the kind of like what's considered normal world.
Part of my family is Ghanaian, like from Ghana in West Africa, right? And mental health is almost like, get up, suck it up, and go do what you need to do. Unless you're really, really sick, and it looks like it's physically seen.
You can't do it.
You can't, exactly.
Yeah, I think it's so, that's really one thing that came like, and that was so obvious, became so obvious to me. I mean, I don't have any, particular relationship to mental health except through like just my own mental health. I mean, I also, I definitely, I have people in my family who have been dealing with issues in their lives, and definitely some part of it are mental health issues. So perhaps I have a more like personal history than when I was younger and stuff. But I felt like it's mostly like almost in the past 6 months to a year, that, because I was going through the cycles, ups and downs of feeling very burnt. I don't know why. I can't really believe it, but I've been diagnosed with ADHD, and I had anxiety for a while, and all this, and this combined with like very intense Web3 work and community building and all that stuff, made life extremely hard. And so I was like, all right, I almost burnt out twice. I'm a pretty vital person, so I recover, and then I want to go back to to doing things. And so yeah, it was pretty exhausting to deal with these mental health problems, like I mean anxiety and all these things were negative thought patterns, and insomnia was really, and it's still something that I'm kind of like working on. Yeah, I was like, how come are we so passive with when it comes to, because I was digging more and more and more, and seeing all these tools that came up, and now there's like neuroscience has made a lot of progress. So lots of neuroscientists and neurosurgeons or whatever are reading like writing these bestseller books on how meditation rewires the brain, how compassion stimulates certain brain circuits, and how there's neurotransmitters and stuff. And so we're seeing this shift in, and mental fitness is like, I mean, it's kind of like fitness for everyone. It's like exactly the same as physical fitness, in the 1950s, or nobody would exercise or go for a run, or except for athletes maybe. And people would smoke, and then eventually they realized like cigarettes give lung cancer, and exercising is extremely good for both your physical health and also mental health, because body and mind are really I mean the same thing. And so now we see gyms everywhere, and the culture has gone in different directions. Some go to the gym just for the aesthetics and stuff, but overall, like, the culture really has shifted about physical fitness. I mean, you would go to the hospital, to a doctor if you were really sick, but you wouldn't go to a coach to kind of like improve your health, improve your fitness. And so now lots of people do it, and I kind of feel like we're about to be able to consciously, because now we have the tools, there's the science that's backing all these different techniques of meditation and stuff, that were things that were adopted by fringe communities in the past, like, but mostly people who went and found or started their practice on their own, or like, I don't know, hippie communities and all these things, but we're always kind of subcultures in a way. And I kind of feel like now we're about to rediscover the brain and kind of like put the brain on the map, the same way the body is on the map today. And so I feel like this kind of like mental fitness thing is going to go mainstream. Also, I think the digital world is really putting a very hard stress on our brains, and you see that with all this Instagram mental health problems and all this stuff, and on top of that, we're going through very, very kind of like anxiety inducing time where because of, especially in the West, because we're not so bothered in the past like 60 to 100 years, because the West was so dominant. But now there's climate, there's I don't know, China, there's all these different things that in COVID that challenges a lot. And so yeah, I think for all these reasons, mental fitness is really something that's at the conjuncture of many different trends that will just push for people to look for solutions, and not just people who are really sick. I've been looking for solutions forever, and just really looking and adopting some of these practices, it really changed the game for me. And I feel like it's the same, like, I mean, you can craft your mental fitness practice for high performance, or you can just craft it to just like live a good life and live a better life. So it depends on where you sit. So mental fitness really came because my mental health wasn't good, and I still wanted to go and be able to be at my best. And so I was like, I have to solve this solution. And I feel like Web3, and because Web3 workers are so challenged, I mean, they're so challenged by their like new digital environment and the intensity, and also just the structure and the routine that there is here, because it's 24/7. It's always, there's Twitter, there's all the social media, which by default rewire your brain anytime you open a notification and stuff. So you have to be able to kind of like step back and get smarter in terms of what's the state of my mental fitness right now, what are the steps I can take to improve it. And also just also, I mean, DAOs is just a lot about connecting with people, chatting with people, and managing all these relationships is really what's I think one of the biggest challenges of successful projects is like having a tight-knit team that with a high level of trust, and building is like these skills as well. And this emotional intelligence is extremely important. So yeah, I think for all these reasons, I think mental fitness is like really fascinating topic to explore.
No, totally. I think it's really good that we're like, I don't think we talk enough about it. And like you said, it's become like this passive thing. But I think it's very, very important. Like, unless somebody like sees you with a cut and bleeding, the urgency is there. But if it's something that cannot be seen, human nature, we're good at like, okay, I'll see the doctor later. Oh, it'll be fine. But I think that it is important that we have these type of conversations, because this attention charged sort of like economy with like the social media platforms and all of this, it can be overwhelming, and how do we filter out all these things? I mean, there's just like, even when I go on Twitter, sometimes I'm just like, okay, I'm like looking, and I'm like, oh my goodness, it's just so much information, and I don't want to miss out, but like sometimes I'm just like, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay to just like close the laptop and just go for a walk and just enjoy the nature, some fresh air. And like I said, I make conscious efforts to really, really protect or preserve my mental health, because your mental health can affect your physical health. You can be physically fine, but if you're struggling in here, it will start affecting the physical, when you're stressed and everything. So I think that we definitely, it's good we're talking about this. And I guess like DAOs are like a way of, I don't know, like, would you say DAOs are sort of solving this? Because this is also an issue in Web3, right?
I feel in my case, I'll say in my case, I realized it's because of things like ADHD and stuff, I can really forget, what my physical state, get just like stuck into things, hyper focused, and then my environment, my body suffers from it. And so I think it's really important to kind of like, as a contributor, as a person working Web3 in remote, from where you at, from where I'm at in France, in Paris and stuff, there's not many people that I work with. I have to, be my own boss for very, very early on. I mean, I started just like, this way at my first job. I had to be my own boss, structure my time, choose, what are my priorities and all these things. And so I think it's really important. And so everyone has to do this work of, setting priorities. When is my mental health and physical health? Where was my threshold? How to, to keep being at my top, so I can also just, be healthy and just also work well. And I mean, on my end, this has taken a lot of time. I think the culture that we are in definitely doesn't incentivize this. Like when you work at a company, everything is kind of like, there's all the processes, all the culture, I don't know, 9 to 5 or whatever the work schedule is, when to have lunch, or actually, having breaks or having a beer. All these things are kind of like, that's you don't have to think about it. That you just, you go at a company and everything's there. Like, that's Western culture, that's Western work culture, that's how it works. And I felt like DAOs, like, it's kind of a clean slate, and so you have to reinvent yourself, and you're to redefine your own hygiene and culture and all these things. And so I think, actually, so back to your question on, whether DAOs are solving for this, I think DAOs are not solving for this. I think at this point, DAOs are kind of like, that's why, by TwoPlus, I think DAOs are going in the opposite direction of, they're actually unsolving for for mental fitness, because of, the Discord notifications, the intensity, the pace, the FOMO, and just like, not being able to be close to, the people you work with. For example, like with TwoPlus, I felt that I'm a very social person, and I felt that not having a physical contact, or just like being able to sit for lunch and throw around jokes, with the people that I'm working with, building this project, is pretty hard. So you have all these different new challenges that you have to deal with, and solve in different ways. But I think that DAOs currently present tons of challenges with mental fitness, both because of how, the lifestyle that goes with contributing to a DAO, working remote and all that stuff, and also like the tools that we use today, which is, this Twitter and Discord and stuff, which we're not made for people to, spend 8, 10, whatever number of hours a day. So that's where, I think, the same way, and I hope in a better and in a bigger way, Web2 and Silicon Valley, and, had their own culture and their own set of elements of lifestyle that kind of like were created, and you had these like people who, you know, talked about, I don't know what it is, but like that can be, you know, yeah, just like going to the gym, or I don't know if people in the valley talked about yoga, but like some talk about supplements, or some others talked about this or that. And you know, developers had certain ways of working, and that developed and now became, you know, kind of like standards for all developers. And so I feel like we're just at the start of a new journey with a new, it's not the Silicon Valley, but it's like this global internet thing, and there's a new culture to create. And so, you know, what are the most up to date elements of culture that we know we need for the future, that we can start adding to this culture now, so they're baked in. And so, yeah, to me, like mental fitness is an obvious one that Web3 needs, but I think, you know, the whole of society needs on the long term, especially in the time we're in. We all need to get, you know, calmer. We need to go past our anxieties. We all need to have more energy. We all need to have better analysis to kind of like solve problems, to better process information, to have more empathy, and to understand each other more. So yeah, I think it can only be positive for Web3 first, and let's see how it goes. But we're still like very early, so
Yeah,
let's.
no, we are. And I think the word that stood out for me as you're talking about it is empathy. I think that empathy is such a like powerful word, because if you know, empathy allows you to see, it's almost like wear somebody else's shoes, right? You know, you can try, you try to like feel for somebody, and that's kind of like maybe the most basic way to describe what empathy is. And so I think that if we can care about each other, and you know, just I think just even like having just, I mean, like scheduled conversations with friends. I know that maybe working in a DAO, like you said, it can be quite intense. I remember watching an episode, a podcast that said a DAO is like a messier like startup or something like that. And I think that either way, I think one of the struggles I've seen in Web3 is like people can't seem to not take a moment not to work, right? So it's almost like
Yeah.
because the medium for work is like online, right? And so if you try to maybe schedule a special time, just like, okay, Louise and I, we're gonna have maybe a chat 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. on weekends just to talk about life, right? But as soon as we try to do that, work is gonna, you know, get in the mix, right? And so it's just really tough. But again, like you said, it's the space is evolving, even DAOs are evolving, right? And so eventually we will see how to improve some of these challenges. And I think that a lot of people in the space have faith in DAOs, right? And so I think that we are all going to, you know, do our best in finding ways to make it the way it needs to be. And also in terms of like mental fitness, I think that this is a conversation, at least on NewForum, we tend to touch on it a lot, right? A lot more, because it is important. And so hopefully people will find ways to, you know, to take care of their mental health and all of that. And also I was going to ask you, you know, I think I read a bit about you, and I read a profile of yours, and it says that you worked in SuperRare.
Mm-hmm.
You working there. So what was the experience? What was the experience like for you? You know, experience for you in like an NFT space.
That's an interesting question. I joined Super in October of 2020. And so that was right before the kind of like NFT took off, like the NFT boom and NFT bull market. I was the sixth employee there. Yeah, just like, I mean, connected with John Crane, who's one of the founders, and they needed someone to work on the community side, and I was jobless at this point. I was just like writing blogs and working, I mean, contributing to a number of DAOs, but I wasn't making any money. So just needed to. And so, yeah, I mean, and Super was a really cool project. So I was like, let's do it. And yeah, I think it was a really interesting time. Also, Super is pretty authentic when it comes to NFTs, and because they have deep roots in like really real digital art community, and they have all these very highly regarded artists in each of these areas, whether it's 3D collage or video. And that's pretty much, yeah, they're pretty much like, I mean, and some other places in crypto and with NFTs are like based on NFT culture, the culture that was created like in the past year or something, the kind of like WAGMI vibe and Bored Apes and stuff. That's kind of like something that's native to crypto and stuff. I feel like SuperRare also has these roots that it's nurturing in like the world of like just art. So yeah, and I think especially on my end, I didn't have like an artistic background or education, so it was pretty new, and it was great to kind of like be able to kind of like train my eye and discover new things every day, just what I was working, and interact with all of these cool artists who are always down to do things and to work with Super and with me, and to on like interesting projects and crazy project, right? Like we've created really cool, like a bunch of really cool NFT badges pretty early on, and co-created that with a bunch of awesome artists. That was super good. And but yeah, it's just on my end, I mean, what I took from this, because DAOs were always kind of like my primary focus. I started working in the space at Aragon, which was a DAO project, and eventually participated in a number of DAOs, and so like Seed Club and Friend with Benefits, and I mean, we had this thing with Brian from Rabbit Hole in the early days, kind of like a DAO that existed before all these different DAOs. That eventually Brian went to found Rabbit Hole, his current company. Working with Super was like a big lesson in terms of culture, I think, because I think the culture of this project is awesome. Like basically the founders are great, and they're really mature, really thoughtful, and really nice guys, really with great intentions. And it really reflected in relationships in the project, between like employees and the kind of like general atmosphere in the project. I never saw like any conflict or anything like this. And so it was very different from previous projects that I had been working with. And so it kind of made me realize, there can be as many different projects as they can be types of personalities, or you don't have to fit into like this one standard that honestly I feel like culture tends to want to have as kind of like this fixed idea about what's building a company, building a project is, or and I was like, oh, so maybe it like also clicked with me, like maybe I can also do something, even though I feel like I'm different from all these entrepreneurs. I can maybe do something that looks it feels good to me, and maybe that will still work. So I think that was the biggest thing that I got from here.
That's great. It's great that so I'm getting that you're no longer working there, right?
No, I left like 8 months ago, some time to get my mental health back together, and start like discovering all these cool mental fitness things, and eventually like just create TwoPlus, as in the follow-up.
I think it's really great. Like you had a really great, rich starting point in the space, and so that was really fabulous that you could have that positive experience, right? And so speaking about like culture and DAOs and communities, like what do you think about social tokens?
I think it's so interesting. I think for a lot of time I've been very also wary of all the the dark sides of all this, and even DAOs. Interestingly, like that's less of the case now. I have less negative thoughts in general now, because like social tokens, so it depends, like if you're thinking about community tokens, so more like a DAO token, like I don't know, Forefront has one, Friend of Benefits has one. So that's the more like DAO type token, where you have some governance rights, and eventually the token might grant you access to some products and different kinds of value. So I think this is something that we're already seeing grow, and that's has, I mean, it's definitely very early, and I'm sure we'll remember this time as a very early time, like the the 1990s with the internet or something. Although everything with crypto, everything goes faster, because the internet exists, right? I think it's a really interesting way to share value, be able to create economic activity as a group. You just have to create this shared trust, or like a trust around a brand or a product, and have people opt in, and eventually, like it's a much easier way for people to actually like organize economic activity. So I think it's really dope. I think we'll see like scandals or things, because you always have people who can like break things or have bad intentions, and eventually that's how we are going to create precedents and realize what can go wrong. Because I mean, some of these projects, I think, for front benefits, all these projects are kind of like well intentioned with great people in the teams and stuff. And so yeah, I think let's see how this develops. I think also one challenge now is you don't really have a template, although it's technology and supposed to be kind of like this thing that you can use out of the box. The truth is there's no template around DAOs. There's no legal clarity. There's no standard way of doing things, especially when you think about DAOs in terms of community building. It's really like a case by it's like startups. There's a playbook, but you still have to create a project, or any project, honestly. So that's for like community tokens, and social tokens, more like the personal tokens and creator tokens and stuff. I think are really this thing that, I mean, I feel like hasn't really emerged. I mean, some creators have gone and created their tokens, and I saw also some rising funds raising for their projects, or through platforms like Mirror and all that stuff. I think it's a really deep concept. I'm not entirely sure how this will go, how this will evolve. Will creators like start leveraging these tokens really, or will it be more like collectives? Or it's still a big question for me. I think for now, I mean, I think having a token that's tied to your reputation and directly to your person, and you can face, involves some pretty deep both ethical and practical issues, in terms of how challenging it can be. And I've seen people who have been wanting to withdraw their personal token, and although it was so early, and we're still in experimental phase, and people don't care that much when a project goes down, or it was still like a pretty big topic. So I think this is something that we need to go very step by step with. And I also expect that this will involve like mental health challenges as well. And here again, like mental fitness, in order like to coach and help and support, and share knowledge with people who go and experiment with tokens, which can be a worldwide, is extremely important.
It's really great to hear your views, the different, I guess, perspectives on social tokens and like community building. But I think that, it's really this idea of like social tokens being built like around the ownership economy, like principle. I think it's really great, and like the value that it brings, I'd say, creators in terms of like being able to monetize and like give back to their supporters, because like with the current platform, you're just following somebody you barely know. You can't really interact, like maybe on Instagram or wherever. You can't really there's no way to really interact with your fans, with somebody you're interested in, right? You could just like it, but that might not be enough. But I think, social tokens takes it to a different level. Like it's like a game changer in a sense. And again, like you said, it's a lot of figuring out, right? And so I'm like still excited to see where all this is going, and I get to enjoy hearing everyone's perspective. When we have these conversations, and we have creators, we have investors, entrepreneurs, and just like a diverse group of people to have these conversations. And so this is great, and really, I think that I've really enjoyed the conversation with you. And I don't know if you have any like few words you want to leave with our listeners.
I think I'm as excited as you are. I think also we want to be extremely intentional about how we go about all this. Make sure we bring those things to the most positive outcomes possible. And if you're listening and some of these things resonate, I mean, I'm sure they generally do if you're a NewForum listener. But feel free to check out 2Plus DAO on Twitter. And we're about to ship our first products and open up the community more. So feel free to just reach out, DM on Twitter or anything. We'll answer you. And thanks for listening.
Yeah, that's awesome. And we will have all of the links in the description below. Thank you so much, Louise. I mean, this was really awesome. I really enjoyed it. And thank you all for being a part of NewForum as always. If you want to get more involved in our community, make sure to follow us on our social platforms. Newcoin.nco is our IG Instagram name, and our website is newcoin.org. You can also join our private Telegram group, and we will have the links in the description. And as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And if you have any questions, do put them in the comments below, and we'll be sure to answer soon. See you in the next episode.